right, welcome to TalentED, and this is where we're going to be bringing you inspiring conversations with talented educators
Oh,
from
I
around the
see what you did
country.
there.
Yeah,
Got a little
right.
pun going right off
Little
the gate,
pun.
right out of the gate.
Bam. I'm Dr. Eric Skanson, your host, and today we have an incredible guest joining us, Jon Corippo. I'm going to give him my best introduction out of any of it I've ever done. Uh, Jon is a highly regarded educator, speaker, and leader with a wealth of experience in transforming education. As a county teacher of the year, NBSA 20 to watch educator, Apple Distinguished Educator. Jon has made a significant impact on profession, and it doesn't stop there. He's the co-author of best-selling books on Amazon, the Edu Protocol Field Guide and the Edu Protocol Field Guide book #2, and has contributed to other successful publications like Edu Protocol's Math Edition. So he's reflective, he is effective, he is a leader, renowned Q Rockstar series, and serves as former chief academic officer and executive director of Q, where he designed impactful professional learning for roughly over 60,000 educators, I believe. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jon. Welcome, Jon, to the show today. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your passion areas, and what gets you up in the morning?
Well, when I first started teaching, uh, it was a second, actually third career. My wife basically said, "Hey, you're going to be a teacher because I'm a teacher and I want to have summer breaks with you." And just literally fell in love with the profession within 2 days. I mean, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing. This is my thing for the rest of my life." It was pretty a big eye-opening experience because my degree is actually in advertising. So I didn't go through the classic liberal studies kind of
Mm-hmm.
path. But I saw how I could use some of those techniques of engagement and customer service and things in my classroom. And so just kept going and working on that. And then one day in 1999, I was looking at a stack of about 1,600 papers to grade, and it was Friday night. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this for 30 years. And then I started getting really honest with myself, and I said, I know that kids enjoy my class, and I know that I work hard, but I'm just not seeing like dramatic results. I'm seeing kind of regular results. And so while I was in college, I played a little D1 football. So in my head, I started matching up the techniques that our coaches used for
Mm-hmm.
feedback and breaking skills down. My coach always used to say, "I'm going to teach you this so that you can do something tomorrow." And I love that idea of progressions, that you're doing just these disparate skills. And then at some point, it turns into gestalt, which is all the skills slammed together into a new thing. So, that's kind of my vibe with teaching. COVID threw us all a big curveball, but my COVID curveball was it exposed how bored kids really are in class. The kids of COVID, as they may be called in the future, they went to the bathroom whenever they wanted for 2 years. They could get a snack whenever they wanted for 2 years. They did, in some cases, a daily little road trip with mom to Costco or CVS. They lived their best life for 2 years. And then we put them back in the classroom and we're like, "Hey, can you sit quietly and just look at me all day?" And the kids have acclimated to a non-Victorian slash colonial kind of school vibe. And what you see teachers saying on social media is kids don't know how to do school anymore, but that's not my read. My read is they're refusing the system. Um,
Confusing. Love it.
yeah, it's a simple but subtle difference. And if you're listening to Eric and I and you're going, "Jon, I don't know about this," understand that in the last 2 years, I've been in 450 classrooms in 3 countries. And everywhere I go, everywhere, within being in the classroom for 20, 10 or 12 minutes, a kid will raise their hand and I'll come over and say, "What's up?" And they go, "Are you coming back tomorrow?" And that's, it's kind of like Dave Burgess's old quote, would people pay to be in your classroom? Is it
Mm-hmm.
that good? And teachers just cannot necessarily see the paradigm of having kids that want to learn. And so that's what I do for a living now. I help teachers see what it could look like. And then just to wrap that little outburst up, I have a friend. This is the end of her second year of teaching, Eric.
Year two.
Year two. She just finished her summer school stint yesterday, which I think was either 16 or 20 days. Okay. She's teaching remedial math at a Title I school. Does that sound like a fun summer school experience to you?
To me, yes. To normal people, no.
So I believe the only way you can get into this class is by having an F in your regular class. So it's a very discrete demographic group. She has data that's showing that in 9 or 10 different areas, integers, um, fractions, decimals, in a broad category, she's showing me the data that their baseline data was 50% passing, 50% correct. 16, 18 days later, her kids are at 95, 98%. Like you're talking about doubling scores
That's
in
some
16
impressive
days.
math.
Yeah, and so then that works really, really good. So that's the super concise story
Sure.
arc of what we're talking about.
I mean, first of all, how dare kids think that they should be able to go to the bathroom and eat a snack whenever they're hungry? I mean,
Right.
that's ridiculous.
Right?
I mean, that's so not real world.
Mm-hmm.
No, impressive background. And I think this idea about engagement and changing how we do school, right, has to happen.
Yes.
We've been talking about this forever. Everybody's talking about it. We have to do school different, but then we come in and we sit down in the desks and we do school
Yeah,
like we know
the
how.
paradigm is so strong. In fact, I was just talking to a superintendent in the call before this, and she said that her teachers were telling her that they need to hire a behavior team because the kids' behavior is not appropriate. And she
Mm,
goes, "You guys, what a great coincidence. We just finished summer school with the same kids as we have during the regular school year. And over 3 or 4 weeks of summer school, we had zero referrals, zero
yes.
fights,
And what is
zero
the
kids
difference
got
there?
benched. And she said, even my own kid won't let me pick her up from school early because she's so much enjoying learning.
Mhm.
She said, well, you guys, why don't we make the 180 days feel like that? And that's it's the power of what our cultural expectations are as teachers, and you've got to
We
get outside of that loop.
we give ourselves permission in off season, right, to do things
Hmm.
differently because we thought it didn't work during the year, so now we got to do it different. And all of a
Yep.
sudden we get these different results. How amazing.
Yeah. Well, and to use an analogy that's outside of education, and I usually get some giggles for this one. uh are you old enough to remember when Starbucks was up and coming, like when you would have to go to a big city to see a Starbucks, right? And invariably we all had one friend that said, if you think I'm going to pay $5 for coffee, you're crazy because I'm not doing it. Well, how'd that work out?
Yeah, how'd that work out?
And the reality of it is that was just an expectation that a cup of coffee comes in a little crappy foam cup, and the only options I have are sugar and dry creamer. Oh my God, who thought that was a good idea? And that was all there was, right? And so when teachers are starting this process, if you're an administrator, if you can remember, because I won't be able to tell this story someday in 20 years, because we'll all be gone. The the first time you go to Starbucks by yourself, how does that feel? Like, what's your self-talk? Don't mess this up. Don't screw this up. Don't look like
Mhm.
a dummy. These are coffee people. I'm going to be talking to a barista. Look like I know what I'm doing.
Look
And
like I belong.
yeah, and I'm scanning the menu and I'm like, I don't know any of this. I'll take an Americano. And then you get this thing and you're thinking it's going to be super exotic and it turns out to just be black coffee.
Hmm.
And that's what it feels like for teachers to step outside of their comfort zone. So we need to have a lot of empathy for that and provide very clear paths for them. This is what it feels like to reimagine your
Well,
teaching
and
career.
we're talking about engagement, and I would be
Yeah.
remiss if I didn't talk about the beautiful background that you have. You have edu protocols. Give us just a snapshot of what an edu protocol is.
Well, I'm going to I'll start with two of our classics for folks, and bear in mind too, this is another paradigm shift. I go around and I see districts that are like, we're a Hattie district, we're a Marzano district, we're a modern schools district, we're a
Hmm.
modern classroom district, we're a modern teacher district. And so we've built this kind of a concept or framework in our head that you're going to be this or that.
Black and white, binary,
Yeah.
one zeros and ones. Yep.
And I've done that. I've gone from districts that are like, we're going to be this grade book. And then 3 years later, no, we're going to be this grade book. And so I've tried for teachers to build a schema that flexes and flows, where you're not constantly having to add and get rid of. And another good example is Avid. Avid's a great program,
Mhm.
but people tend to see it like, if we're not Avid, we're not Avid. We're Avid or we're not Avid. And you can bring those concepts to every classroom, and they don't have to compete with other concepts. So here's a couple of EDGE protocols. Um, Eric, have you ever led kids through a think, pair, share? Like, I
Yes.
think everybody knows think, pair, share. Here's what I don't like as a real life teacher about think, pair, share. Two main things. One is when you ask fourth and fifth graders what they want to know about the Kepler Space Telescope, they don't have any point of reference. So
Hmm.
their questions are not that great. And they're not that interested in something they don't know anything about. So I just feel like I'm dragging them. I don't like to be that teacher where I'm, kind of putting the questions in their mouths. So I don't enjoy that part. The second piece I don't like about a classic think, pair, share is at the end, I mostly have this. There's not a lot of accountability for what
Hmm.
they learned and who learned it. And then the part I really don't like is the popsicle sticks, because if you've tried popsicle sticks lately, those kids are giving you daggers. They are like, bro, do not pick me because it is not going to go well for
Hmm.
anybody. So my super talented co-author came up with a thing called a cyber sandwich. And watch the little shifts here. You're going to start off by giving a kid an article. Here's something to read. And this is like what I was saying about Avid. The article can be from Benchmark, it can be from
Hmm.
Amplify, it can be from Generation Genius, it can be from Wired. Doesn't matter. It's content you want your kids to learn about. You give them an article. You don't worry about levels necessarily. I'm not super into levels. That's a publisher's artifice and creation. The fact of the matter is, most of the internet's written for an eighth grade reading level. So I will pick an article that I think my kids can get through independently in about 6 to 8 minutes. I'm not thinking quantity, I'm thinking time frame. And then I'm going to put them in a team. And let's say, Eric, you and I are in a team. And I'll just say to the kids, as you're reading, do some note and notice, do some milestones, whatever I want the kids to track. And so, Eric, you're on one slide and you're making notes about these observations, and I'm on a second slide in a Google slide deck. So now we each have, let's say, 4 or 5 things. And again, it could be a vocabulary word, or I can say things like, when you see this person, give me 3 facts about them. There's a million ways to play the game. Now, at the end of that time period, I have been circling around the room and I go, Eric and John, you're ready to start. They move to slide 3. On slide 3, they're going to build a Venn diagram of what you have and what I have. This is a subtlety. Do not say Venn diagram, because when you say it, the kids freak out. And I don't know why, but that's okay. So now Eric and John can talk all they want as a pair. Did you have this? Did you have that?
Hmm.
Something. And it's structured. I'm seeing what they're thinking on their written notes. So there's an accountability piece. I give them about 3 to 5 minutes to do that. And then I explain every pair, not individuals, every pair is going to be responsible to answer 3 categories. Let me reframe that. One of 3. So I say, you can tell me a bazinga, which is when you read this article, what was something that made you go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. You can give me a wall of facts, which is maybe for my less committed student. Just tell me the 3 most important facts according to your conversation. Or you can ask me a question based on the article, and questions are double points. So here's the cool part. I'm not using popsicle sticks anymore, Eric, because every team is
Everybody.
accountable. And I got that idea from a friend of mine named Sam Patterson. And he said, quit raising your hands. I'm calling on everybody. And I think that's a really powerful concept. So we go around the room and I clarify the misconceptions. I say, what a great question. Let's work on that for a second. But see, kids are now armed to ask questions. That's a
Mm-hmm.
very different space in their brain. And then when I think we've gone about 6 or 8 minutes and we've got it kind of settled in and we're good to go, I say, okay, there's one more slide. And on that last slide, what I want you to do is write a paragraph about what you learned today. And then that final paragraph can be a response to literature. It can be first person. It can be third person.
Mm-hmm.
It can be anything you want that's just based. It could be a summary. It could be somebody wanted, but so then. And so the cool part of this is the first time we do a cyber sandwich, and I actually have this article, I can send it to you. I've got an article called King Kong versus Godzilla, Whose Poop Would Be Bigger?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very scientific. It talks in kilograms and cycles and
Mm-hmm.
ingestion. Or I've got another article that's called this, What's the Origin of Tacos? And you give kids a highly engaging thing like that. You ask them to talk to each other about their epiphanies, and then you ask them to write what they learned. Now, tomorrow we'll do the exact same thing on the history of maybe burritos or maybe heroes. And we're getting them into this groove.
Mm-hmm.
And so next week it can look like this, cyber sandwich on Dr. Louis Leakey if you're teaching 6th grade. And then 2 days later, we do another cyber sandwich on Lucy, the Australopithecine hominid and her discovery. And then the next day you're doing it on the AFR triangle. And then the next day you're doing it on the Fertile Crescent. So you're getting into this vibe where kids are doing this, reading,
Mm-hmm.
discussing, being socially accountable, being individually accountable. And here's the best part. To prep tomorrow, all I have to do is grab a new article. So the prep is super low and the feedback's in real time. So that's Cyber Sandwich, and it's one of
I
our
love it.
go-to protocols.
It's engaging, it's accountability in a good way for students. It's predictable once they've been taught it, right? And students do
Yep.
love,
They know what's coming. They know what's coming.
there's no
Your
surprises.
trauma-informed kids start getting really comfortable. Your academically aggressive kids start really doing things, and you can very easily Mary Poppins this. Like you're 3 weeks in, you can go, hey, have you guys wondered how to put footnotes in? Well, now I'm only adding that one little piece to the
One little
puzzle.
piece.
And the kids are like, that's cool. Instead of, you're killing us. It's that little shift.
John, I
And
love it.
and imagine this too, Eric. If any people are watching this and they remember how painful it can be to drag kids through a 5-paragraph essay,
Mm,
that could be a very, or even worse, a 5-paragraph report,
hmm.
right? That can be, it can generate a lot of benching, calling home, bad grades, bad feelings. Imagine this, Eric. Look how smooth this is. If we do 5 cyber sandwiches, what have we written?
5-paragraph essay.
And all I've done is scaffolded that baby. So 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes on 5 common subjects. And then on the 6th day, I just say, hey, copy all of your paragraphs into a singular doc.
Mhm.
Let's add some footnotes and a couple of pictures.
What a
Now, everybody's not going to get an A, but I guarantee you, you're not going to be calling home and you're not going to be benching kids and you're not going to have to be doing all of
right.
those things that are just a huge negative energy.
You're now a facilitator. You're a
Right.
facilitator of the
Right.
learning using some standard protocols, some strategies that we have found to work in the classroom and engage students. And again, we're providing some predictability, some
Yeah. And
engagement.
to
I
go
love
full
it.
circle, can I, if I, let's say I'm an HMH or a discovery or whatever my
Hmm.
curriculum is, this doesn't fight with that. We're going to go through the same pacing guide. We're going to go through the same concepts. All that's going to happen is it's going to be less painful for myself and the human children.
And on that soft side, we're using language. We're talking to other students. So nobody sits silent,
Yeah.
right? You have to
And
engage with other students. You have to talk. It's good for culture. It's good for language learning, language acquisition, all of those pieces.
Exactly, exactly. And again, it's not, you don't have to stop doing something to add this.
Well, John, I have my own Edu School Pro to call. Do you see what I did there?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to ask you, if this is a language lesson, we're talking about language. I'm wondering if you can give me one adjective. Mad Lib style.
My favorite adjective would probably be creative.
Creative. Perfect. And give me a noun.
My noun would be learn.
Another noun.
Another noun, build.
Verb.
Create.
Another verb.
Share.
Another adjective.
Another adjective, quickly.
And one more noun.
Present.
Okay, you
Is that a
ready?
noun? Is present a noun? Hold on a second.
Present is nope.
Nope.
Presentation would be
Presentation. Let's do that. Yes. I had to
okay.
check myself there.
Here we go. Let's see how you did. In the world of education, a revolution is near. EduProtocol's the game changer we cheer. With its creative powers, it leads the way, transforming classrooms day by day. In the realm of building where knowledge blooms, EduProtocol sweeps away the gloom with creating creative strategies. It paves the path, engaging students, unleashing their wrath from. Oh, I lost my noun. I lost it. Give me a quick noun. Sorry.
Quick
Um,
noun.
from building. I think I did building.
Yeah,
From
building. There you go.
from building exploration to quick innovation. Edge Protocol fuels the imagination. It sparks presentations, ignites the fire, turning leading into a grand empire.
I
So,
love it.
so we just use the old Mad Libs. We talked through some of the
Yeah. Well, and that's beautiful because that same kind of unexpected engagement kids have for Mad Libs is exactly the same way that they come after protocols.
right.
Once they see the game, they want to play
They want
again
to play
and
it
again.
again and then again and again. And who hasn't done Mad Libs in the car, traveling, super fun little game, right? To see
Yep.
how it all fits in. John, I want to thank you for coming on with us today. I love what you have going on. I think school districts, schools, teachers would benefit greatly from working
Yeah.
with you and working with Edu Protocols. Do you have any final call to action? I mean,
Just the final call to action is if you're a building leader and you say, we're having behavior problems and we're sliding on our state scores. Okay. If you just add a sprinkle of EDGE protocols to
mhm,
that, you're going to get better student behavior because of two things. One is the kids will be actively working during class and engaged, which means they'll be tired at recess. You
mhm,
get a double win. They go to recess and they're like, whew, this is great to just sit
just
quietly.
relax.
Yep. The second thing is if you want higher academic scores, you're going to get them because kids are doing more work with better feedback. That's actually less work for your teachers,
Mhm.
which means your teachers are going to be happy too.
Less
And so
burnout. We need to keep
it's
them around.
yeah, I mean, some people look at protocols and one of the things they'll say is, "Oh, well, these are just thinking maps." No, they're not because you're employing ed tech, you're
Mhm.
employing the four C's, you're employing feedback. It's not just a PDF that you get. It's the full
Yeah,
encompassing.
it's an
I feel like I'm back
experience.
on the Mad Lib. It's the whole experience. It's the grading, it's the planning, it's the feedback, it's the way you run the class. It's a mindset. And here's the best thing, Eric. They're free. You can go to eduprotocols.com and get them right now. And I'm more than happy to help you implement. But once you're
Mhm.
ready, you can use them for the rest of your life for free.
Well, that was going to be my next question. How best do you work with districts? Is it
Okay, so I do a thing that I think is relatively unique. I mentioned the 450 classrooms. What I really think is and you mentioned my work at Q. The worst kind of PD is putting everybody in an auditorium and saying we're going to learn. You can listen to some heartwarming stories. You can get some new ideas, but if you want a dramatic amount of change, the best way to do it is to work with people in small groups with their
mhm,
kids in the room. And when I go and model what this looks like in terms of the pacing, the engagement, the feedback, that's when teachers are completely mind blown. And again, I have multiple superintendents who will testify to classes that were bad
mhm.
behavior classes, and within 7 minutes with me changing just a few things, it's everybody's engaged. No phones are out, nobody's on another tab. They're working, they're smiling, and they're engaged. And teachers need to see their kids being that way for them to believe that it's possible.
Well, everybody, if you would like some embedded coaching with John, there's going to be some information at the end of this video series. But I mean, Edge Protocols is on Amazon, right? Like you can go buy
Yeah,
those books.
yeah.
Visit
Go
the
to
website. Go check
edgeprotocols.com.
it
You can
out.
actually self-train. There's a lot of things you can do to just read. And some people say, why should I go to a restaurant for a hamburger? Because I can just go to the grocery store and make a hamburger. But we all know that there's something a little better about
Hmm.
a professionally made burger. But you can definitely start experiencing it. Just Google Edge of Protocols, go on Twitter, look hashtag Edge of
You
Protocols,
got it.
go on TikTok, and you'll be able to start for free. But we realize that sometimes people need a little boost in terms of flipping their school or their district. But we're having like such amazing results. 30, 40 points of growth school wide, Eric. Nobody's doing that. And here's
Right.
how I know. Here's how I know. When's the last time you saw any superintendent saying our scores went up 20 points last year? So what can we take from that?
Right. It's not happening.
It's not happening. When's the last time you saw any publisher say, now they'll tell you that their curriculum will raise engagement. They will tell you that it's equitable. They will tell you that it's balanced. Nobody's name and numbers.
Hmm.
And that's because we're not growing.
There you have it.
Imagine the NFL trying to sell you on watching games because they're interesting. No, I want scores. I want
Once, of
stats.
course.
I
Well,
want scores. Who won?
who
That's what it's
won?
all about, is how did we do in the data? And when you don't hear your profession talking about data, the silence is deafening. And we're not. We're not saying, I'm not seeing any districts that are saying, we went up 30 points, we went up 40 points. Eric, I'm not seeing people to say that we went up 15 points.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, like I said, in our smaller group, we're seeing 30 and 40 points
Seeing the
school
results.
wide, not just some teachers, like across the board. So that tells me a lot scientifically about what's going on. We haven't our stuff is based on research. So we take Hattie, Marzano, Kagan, and we use that to design
Hmm.
our workflows. We haven't done research yet, but I would say there's definitely a phenomena involved. Like if you've done a scientific phenomena, we know what magnets will do. Magnets are perfectly predictable. We still don't know exactly how they work. We just know that what they'll do. And I think that's where we're at with protocols. When we do certain behaviors, we know exactly the result. We haven't necessarily sat down and disaggregated all the how to's and the brain piece of it, but it's fascinating to watch teachers who are 20 and 30-year teachers say, I've been doing this a long time, and this is the only thing that's ever gotten these results.
Good strategies. Good strategies. Well,
That's what
John,
it comes down to.
I want to thank you for coming on and sharing about Edge protocols and just
You
your
bet.
your thoughts in general about what we need to do in education. So thank you so much for coming on. If you want to get a hold of John, you can obviously go to a website. If you would like to work with him, School Pro is happy to help get you connected to John as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review. If you have any suggestions or featured topics or guests, please contact us. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and stay PKS, which is positive. kind, and supportive. Thanks, everybody.